We added a bunch of new comps to the tier list for patch 16.6, especially in the A tier. A lot of people think that Fast 9 is the only option out there, but there actually are a bunch of reroll and even some level 8 options for people to play right now. So don't be fooled, it's not all Fast 9. Like obviously in the S tier it is, but the issue with Fast 9 comps is that you have to have so much gold, more than you could ever need. So it ends up that a lot of games you probably should be playing some of the A tiers this patch. Because the first 3 comps, they pretty much are all the same. They're all AP Fast 9 comps, so if you just don't have those requirements, you just have to go for some of the A tiers. So we're going to be covering a lot of that today. But some of the comps that got added is going to be the Malzahar comp, the Noxus comp, and also the Aphelios comp. And then we also moved Bilgewater up to the top of the A tier. Unfortunately, right now, a lot of the popular comps of the past, they are going to be in the B tier. They are still playable. So if you still like playing like Void or Shadow Owls or Yunara, they definitely still can be played. It's just going to be a little bit rare. But let's move on into how to play each and every one of these comps. Let's start off with the Fast 9. So for Mel Fast 9, Ryze Fast 9, and Annie Sylas, honestly, all 3 of these can kind of be meshed into the same comp because again, they all require a lot of econ and they all require AP items. It's a little bit different in terms of the exact item requirements, but generally for AP items, you just want 1 mana regen, Jeweled Gauntlet, and then a 3rd random item. And then you also want Void Staff and Morellonomicon. The key differences between these 3 comps is that the Annie Sylas comp and the Mel comp, they both also need a Sylas item, so you want some healing item on him plus the Jeweled Gauntlet. And then lastly, for the Ryze comp, there are a lot of versions out there. We have 4 versions out here, but the most popular one right now is going to be the Demacia one, so you need a Demacia start for this specific comp. So those are the differences between the 3 comps out there right now, but just to cover the Mel comp, we have Sylas, Nasus, Fiddlestick, Swain, Shyvana, Darius, and Taric, and then Azir and Mel in the back. Mel's going to be your primary, Sylas secondary, and then if you have leftovers, throw them on Azir. Main tank is going to be Nasus, and this comp works especially well if you obviously come from a Noxus start. So Noxus is just pretty good comp to play the early and mid game with, because when you Fast 9, you need to be healthy, and you need to ideally be winning at least most of your games, if not trying to do full win streak. Just because the life total save early on is going to give you some breathing room before you hit level 9, because some of those losses in stage 4 hurt a ton before you can actually do your power spike. For Ryze, we have the Demacia version, as we talked about. You want to be playing Galio. He's going to be on your bench, so you don't need to worry about putting him on your board here. But we have Ryze in the back with Nashers, which is kind of like a mana item, Jeweled Gauntlet, and then Void Staff. And then you could have Morello on Lissandra. You could also do Void and Morello on Lissandra, and then 3rd item on Ryze. Sometimes he just hits the backline though, and Lissandra doesn't always hit them, but sometimes you don't have enough items to kind of put on everyone. Garen or Braum are going to be your main tanks. Doesn't really matter which one, it's just whoever you 2-star first. And then you have 2 random item holders, actually 3 of them. You have Set, Volibear, and Galio. So if you have attack damage items that are melee, put them on Volibear. If you have magic, put them on Set. And then if you have tank, put them on Galio. Some of the other versions that deserve a shout out though is going to be the Shurima Piltover version. The Shurima buff on Ryze is so strong, and that's kind of why people like playing this version out here. But what I like about this comp is that it doesn't really matter which Shurima unit you get. You could either get Nasus or Renekton. It could be both too. But because this comp has a tank in Braum, you don't need Nasus. In the Mel comp, you kind of need Nasus because you don't really have a strong tank in this build. Taric's okay, but he's not amazing or anything like that. Obviously, if he's 2-star and you have a 1-star Nasus, then yeah, you put the tank items on Taric. Always itemize your 2-star units, right? But the good part here is that you just need any of them. Even Xerath will do. Honestly, Xerath is the best one. Like, Xerath is so OP, but he's just hard to get because you gotta do win, lose, you know? By the way, one trick to unlock Xerath is if you're really, really strong, just win the first round and then purposely lose the next round and then try to win really hard. And then try to win really hard in the 3rd round, assuming you didn't unlock any of the other Shurimas yet. Because his requirement goes up and up and up the more Shurima units you unlock. So getting him first definitely is preferable, especially in this build, because you could always use Braum as your main tank. In the top build up here, I'd rather just get the Nasus. You will just lose eventually, right? So just a couple of losses gets him out. And yeah, he is a solid tank. If you don't, like, obviously it's not the end of the world. You just have to throw all your tank items onto Taric. It is nicer to have like a better super tank because Taric, while he is still solid, he's not as good as Nasus. So he just gets chunked a little harder. Speaking of chunked, what's the difference between Chungus and Chud? I've been hearing both of them. I know this is really random, but I honestly don't know what the difference between the two is, but I just see people say both those words all the time. Anyone help me out there? But that's pretty much what you have to do for the Mel and Ryze comp. For the Annie comp, people like playing this from Yordle start and also getting tons of mana items just to get your Annie up and going. By the way, one tip that's really good for this comp is building Adaptive Helm early. Don't go out of your way to build it. Like, don't get a Negatron on Carousel to build it, like get another tier instead. But if you just randomly have tier plus Negatron, just build Adaptive Helm early, because you could just use it as a tank item. Just throw it on, maybe you have a 2-star Rumble that can use it, right? You just build it, get value from it, and then switch it onto your Annie once you get her. It's really, really nice to do, just because like I think Adaptive Helm is just one of the most underrated items in the game. Pretty much every single set it is. I think people don't like it because it's never like a true best in slot, but it's really good just to build early. You just always have a unit that can use it, you know? Like you could put it on a backliner or a frontliner, doesn't really matter. I mean, it's in the name, right? Adaptive, like not too many items do that. In fact, none of the items do that. But it's a nice little thing to do. You could even do double Adaptive Helm Annie. I have not checked the stats on this, but I guarantee you it's not even that bad. We can put an Annie here with the Sylas and then go to items. Drop the first adaptive onto Annie. Let's see where the second one goes. We'll type in tier to filter out tier items. And then you'll see here, Spirit Shoujin 3.13, 3.03 for blue buff, and then 3.04 for Adaptive Helm. Like, yeah, Adaptive Helm's just good. It doesn't matter if you build 2 of them. You could even build 3 of them on her, apparently, but maybe that one's a little too much. But yeah, don't be afraid to just slam adaptives, because you could always throw it on some random unit. Even Tibbers can use it, because again, it both gives tank stats and mana, depending on who's holding it. But that's how you play all the 3 Fast 9 AP comps. Let's go on into the A tiers. First one up is going to be Bilgewater. So Bilgewater is an attack damage comp, and we talked about this earlier. Like, attack damage just is a bit weaker right now, but there are still some viable builds for it. Like, Kindred and Lucian are still very legit units, because we have this build and we also have the AD Fast 9 build. Both of them use these, so it really just depends on whether you get Bilgewater or not. So pretty much the conditions of this is 5 early Bilgewater, Econ Augments help, and getting strong early game helps so that you get a lot of Silver Serpents. It allows you to kind of greed later on also when you're trying to farm 7 Bilgewater. So that's kind of why people do this. You could also play Ryze in this board, but the regular board is going to be just enough also. So Kindred, Lucian, Wukong, those are the 3 units you're going to be focusing on. Misfortune and Tahm Kench, they're going to be getting some of the Bilgewater items, so you don't need to build specific items for them, which I personally think makes it really, really convenient. But of course, you want to get your Tahm Kench and Misfortune to 3 items as soon as possible, but you'll definitely be using your removers on them later. Item removers are key in this comp because you always want to be switching them around, so don't waste them in the early game if you can help it. That doesn't mean never use your item removers early. It just means that if you are using them, make sure you get good value out of them, because it's going to have to make up for the lost value that you could have gotten with them later. In terms of specific items though, Misfortune and Lucian really like the Shoujin. It's just the best item on them because they need the mana regen, and then Tahm Kench really likes Protector's Vow. The reason why is because Protector's Vow really gets prioritized on units that need to cast very quickly, and the earlier Tahm Kench casts, the bigger impact he has. I know that's true for everyone, but especially with Tahm Kench. He's more reliant on his ability than anything else, and when he just eats someone, good things happen. A nice little positioning trick I like to do with Tahm Kench is just put him on the side of their weak tank with an item. You know how some people sometimes have 3 items on one tank and then 1 item on another? Put him in front of the unit that only has 1 item. The reason why you want to do that is because you want him to kill that unit with his eating mechanic and then spit out an item. So that means you don't want him to eat someone with no items, but you also don't want to eat their biggest tank, because if you eat their biggest tank, he's probably not going to kill them because they're a giga tank, right? So try to get him on one of the off tanks and you'll get a lot more items that way. Like, I know some people, they look at some Bilgewater boards and they're like, holy cow, how does this guy have so many items? I never get that many. It's because they're positioning their Tahm Kench accordingly. But yeah, for this comp, you want to play strong early game, and there are a couple ways to do that. So tempo is the name of the game. It's okay to sacrifice Econ to farm the maximum amount of Serpents, and there are multiple ways to be strong. You could either do it through getting access to the expensive units, such as Misfortune or Fizz. I think Fizz is so good in the mid game, by the way. He's like just one of the greatest units out there, and Fizz and MF as a combo is really good because Fizz leaves people at 1 HP and Misfortune just hits a bunch of random units. So they're able to finish off a lot of the backliners pretty easily. An alternative you could do is going for TF or Graves 3-star. Not that you're going to be rolling for them, but sometimes they just happen naturally from your shop because you get both the units in the shop and also the duplicators in your shop. But all these options can stabilize you to get to your late game and essentially just be very cost effective. But yeah, if you are able to get 7 Bilge out in stage 3, you pretty much just get a huge advantage. If I ever have the chance to get it unlocked, I just get to level 7 as soon as possible, no matter what the cost is, and then just start farming a ton of Silver Serpents that way. There are also some cycle tips down here that you could read, such as shifting between 3, 5, and 7 Bilgewater, but I'll let you all read that on the website, bunnymuffins.lol/meta, where we have free guides for every single patch. And the two I want to showcase the most are this one, which is the tier list, and also the opener guide. But let's move on into the Ixtal comp. Ixtal's still good. The outs are going to be dependent on whether you're AP or AD. AP is probably the preferred one right now. You could even play Ryze with this, but that's a little super high roll. The main one you're probably going to be playing is this one where you just have Brock, Skarner, and Nico, and then Arcanist. So the Arcanists that makes the most sense to play are going to be Swain, Tibbers, and Annie. And then you just fill your board out with some legendaries after that. I mean, some of those are already legendaries, but you could always do more. Brock, Skarner, plus a bunch of units. But the real skill in the comp comes with just questing, because you still need to unlock a pretty big cash out to get Brock. So the best way to do that is actually through win streaking in the early game. So the way to do that is actually through win streaking in the early game so that you can sack rounds later to try to complete your quests. That's always going to be the best way to do it right now, unless you get some super lose streak condition, or if you get a health augment. Health as in like player health. But yeah, just make sure you have these 3 items on him and you are going to be more than good to go. I'd say IE, Hand of Justice are the only 2 quote-unquote mandatories. Third one, I like Sterex. Some people like BT. We could actually just look at the Data Explorer to kind of see what he likes. And yeah, it's just IE. I like the Hand of Justice, but BT does the same thing. And then Sterex. And then Sterex is going to be fine. Are there other ones that are pretty good out there that aren't played too often? It's looking like Deathblade, Giant Slayer, Striker's Flail. Yeah, I could see Striker's Flail making a lot of sense. Last Whisper if you don't have the effect on someone else. Yeah, all these make sense here. Titans and Quicksilver, you don't really need those because he already gets immunity from crowd control. So it's kind of like a redundant thing to build on him and not very good. But let's move on into the next comp, which is going to be AD Fast 9. All the Fast 9 comps, you have to snowball the early game. This one's done through Draven. He's going to be farming you both gold and hopefully some player health, as in preserving yours. Because him with the Rageblade in the early game, like Rageblade Kraken on him, he just cleans everything. So if you're able to play him with Noxus, we talked about how Noxus is really good early. You are often able to get free early games. What I like to do is play Draven with a Quick Striker. It's either going to be Ashe or Viego, and then playing 3 Noxus. That's going to be like the ideal level 4. Level 5, you add in some tank synergy to whatever Noxus units you have. So it's probably going to be Sion in the early game, so you add a Bruiser, Darius in the later part, so you can add a Defender. And then at level 6, you add the one that you were missing before. So if you added in a Bruiser before, and you have both Sion and Darius out there, you could add in a Defender. And if you had a Defender in before, you could add in a Bruiser. That's kind of one way to approach this, but pretty much, if you have AD items early and you get Draven from an orb drop in stage 1, this comp's going to be really, really good for you. Then in the late game, you find some time to get to level 9, roll down for Lucian, Senna, and Kindred, and whatever other legendaries you can find, and then play just generic frontline, Skarner, Taric. Nothing too complicated there. And you're pretty set to have a pretty decent game. You could also go into this other level 9 comp. This one's a little bit cheaper, and it has Freljord units in there, but I prefer just playing this version out here, but honestly, both work. Next build up we have is Veigar Yordles. If you get Yordle start, this is going to be a good comp to play, and you could also combine it with Annie Tibbers. I mean, Annie Tibbers is just a good combo right now if you ever do get mana items, because Annie just saves you an item. You don't need to have anti-heal in your comp because she just applies it to everyone. She's also the best applier of Void Staff because she hits everyone. So as long as you have 2 mana items plus Annie, she's going to be an absolutely incredible unit for any Arcanist comp out there, or any AP comp in general. And then Tibbers is just a really good tank. And if you 2-star Annie, you just get a 2-star tank and a 2-star damage unit. Honestly, she's more of a support, but it's still nice to have, and that's obviously absolutely bonkers nuts. So for the main carry, though, it's obviously going to be Veigar. Blue buff, hat, plus anything is going to be the build for him. Kennen or Kabuko or Wukong can be your tank before you get Tibbers, and then Sylas is going to be your super late game. They made Sylas very easy to unlock. You just need to sell a Garen 2-star at level 9, so he's not that hard to get. That's why a lot of boards are able to play him, and obviously he's going to be a very good unit to have on your team if you are indeed going Arcanist. For the mid game though, like a lot of people like going 8 Yordles. It's really good to farm a ton of gold. So we have here stage 4, go to level 8 for 8 Yordle and Veigar 2. If you are healthy, consider sacking your way to level 9 for Ziggs. And then you could also go Ziggs as a carry or go for the Annie comp here. You pretty much go the Ziggs comp if you don't have the extra mana items. And a sample comp for that could look something like this. You just simply take out Tibbers and Annie, and then you add in Ziggs and also a Poppy. Then you make either 3-star Kennen or 3-star Kabuko your main tank, or Wukong. So if you get 2 mana items, play Annie. If not, play Ziggs. Ziggs likes a weird combination of items. He really likes Rageblade, but he could also hold the utility items such as Morello Namicon and Void Staff. But really fun comp to play. I like this one a lot. Next build up we have is going to be Ionia Ahri. This is going to be the first reroll comp that we're going to go over. This one's going to be Kennen and Ahri focused. Very good right now. Ahri's just like a super unit right now, honestly. But you just go deep into Ionia, 7 Ionia, get double Nashor's Ahri with Jeweled Gauntlet. Very good build there. It just allows her to cast a ton because Nashor's is essentially a mana item now if you have crit, which honestly most units should have. And then you just throw a Kennen in the front line and then the rest of the Ionia units. You don't really care too much about them. But whenever you are playing this comp, just get one reroll augment. It really helps. Reroll augment as in something that gives you a champion duplicator or a bunch of free rerolls. So like Rolling for Days could be considered one of them. That's the one that gives you, I think it's like 8 rerolls or 10 rerolls. I forget the exact number. But it's the silver augment over here. I just know it gives a bunch. But this comp's super simple to play and also very powerful. Great from lose streak starts where you need to stabilize. Next one up is Targon Malzahar. Plays in the same exact way. It's kind of like Zoe, Malzahar, and Leona. So the 2 Targons plus Malzahar. And then you just need to play any Void unit. Kog'Maw's nice because he gives Arcanist. So you can pair it up with the Nico Vi budget combo with Seraphine. Seraphine's also a disruptor for Malzahar. So you could get like a pretty cheap comp out there for like the rest of the units and then have your power in Leona, Zoe, and Malzahar 3-star. So this one you definitely need a reroll augment for because you ideally want 3 different 3-star units. The one up here, I wouldn't say it's mandatory because you just need 2 of them. But for this one, you definitely want some reroll augment because getting 3 3-star 3 costs is super duper expensive. Now the question is, do you absolutely need this? No, but it definitely does help. You could definitely stabilize in stage 3 with 2 stars of Leona plus 1 of the damage dealers, and then in the later part of the game having 2 of them 3-star. Sometimes it's enough, sometimes it's not. But items here for Malzahar are going to be the double Nashor's plus Jeweled Gauntlet build, and then Zoe is just blue buff, Jeweled Gauntlet plus some random AP item. Hat's going to be really good. Just to hit a bit harder, but it honestly could be anything. For Leona, Gargoyle Stoneplate is good. You could have 1 or 2, doesn't really matter. And then for the other tank items, just get whatever you can because you probably are going to be prioritizing the Nashor's Tooths here. But pretty simple build as well. 3-star reroll or 3-cost reroll at level 7. You could check out the leveling pattern down here. It has full instructions on what to do in both lose streaking and win streaking, but mainly it's going to be lose streaking. Next one up we have is Noxus reroll. This one's going to be the Darius LeBlanc build. It's one of the new comps that I added, and this one builds off a very strong Noxus start. So again, I've been glazing Noxus all day. They are just really strong right now in the early mid game, but their late game needs help. That's why they transfer into the Mel build and drop down to 3 Noxus, or they need to do some reroll stuff like you see here. So Darius 3, LeBlanc 3 is going to be what you want to aim for, where Darius is your tank and LeBlanc is your main damage dealer. For LeBlanc items, Nashor's Jeweled Gauntlet plus Stridebreaker are going to be a pretty solid combo. There are obviously going to be other options out there, but pretty much it's going to be mana item, Jeweled Gauntlet plus 3rd item. Mel likes the mana items and she could be your utility holder, so you can put Void Staff and other stuff on her. And then Darius is a little bit goofy. So we could go to the Explorer tool, type in Darius, put in LeBlanc as well, and then make them both 3-star, and then we could see exactly what you want on them. And for Darius, Titans is really good. He's not built in a traditional tank sense, but Titans, Sterix, a good combo. You could do Gargoyle Stoneplate if you want to isolate him. It really helps him get Titans Resolve stacks really quickly as well. Or you could do stuff like Adaptive Helm, BT, or any of the regular tank items. It's not that regular tank items don't work on him. It's just that the Titan Sterix combo is a bit better. So that's kind of why you want that there. If you have leftover items, put them on Mel or utility on her. And then Swain is also just going to be a Protector's Vow bot, just like he has been in the entirety of the set. But the way you do this comp is get a Noxus start, play it, try to go for the Mel comp, the Fast 9 Mel comp that we saw before. If for some reason you get like a bunch of fresh copies of LeBlanc and Darius, extra ones, that's when you're like, let's see if I could reroll this. Or if you get like a really good reroll augment on stage 3, then you could be like, let me go for this. That's how you kind of decide what to do. But I really like this comp a lot. It just transfers the strength of stage 3 2-star LeBlanc into stage 4 and 5 3-star LeBlanc. So it kind of plays out in the same way as you would in a traditional Noxus board. One thing to note, you do need to unlock Mel. Like, she's not mandatory by any means, but she's just like a good extra unit at the end. So just make sure you have Mbessa die. Mbessa's not on the board right now, so that's what you have to do at some point in the game. But another optional thing you could do is getting Draven 3. He's not mandatory by any means, but if you have items on him, you can do it. And then at that point, you would also want to try to add in a Quick Striker if you are able to go up in levels. But next comp up we have is going to be the Jinx Flex comp. I really like this one a lot. Another reroll comp. This one really is good for lose streaking because it combines the reroll aspect of stabilization plus also getting Singe early on, and Singe requires you to lose health. So this comp is really good, very consistent, and if you have attack speed items, this is the comp you go for. So out of all the reroll comps we went over already, the Ahri, Malzahar, Zoe, and the LeBlanc comps, they all require AP. This is the first one that requires attack speed, but that's what Jinx is about. She always likes attack speed and attack damage, and then Mundo pretty much can use any tank item. Preferably the utilities, because that would leave room for you to itemize Warwick. And Warwick's going to take pretty much all of the melee bruiser items, such as the Titans, Sterak's, BT, you know, the classic combo we've been building for the past couple of sets. And then if you have even more extra items, it could go on either any of the legendaries or Singed. Those all work pretty fine and dandy there. But Jinx and Warwick are a great combo because they're Gunslinger and Quick Striker, and it just pairs up with two really good legendaries in the game, Lucian, Senna, and Kindred. So that's kind of why this comp works out pretty nicely right now. Once Jinx got buffed a little bit, people could actually start playing her, and then there actually are some solid boards around here. Pretty much all your key units have really good units to pair the trait with, so if we look at all the Zon units that we care about, Mundo, Warwick, Jinx, and Singe, we get Wukong, which is a 4-cost, Shyvana 5-cost, Kindred, Lucian, also 5-cost, so that's kind of why this build works out really, really well. But yeah, lose streak into this, and then play around Jinx, see if you could re-roll her. You could even play Bard early game in order to get a lot of the rerolls, and then you're able to get really into it after that. You just need to make sure you get attack speed on your Jinx though. Rageblade, Kraken, probably the two most important items. Third item, I like the Deathblade, but honestly, you could probably use a bunch of different stuff there. Next build up we have is Aphelios Reroll. This one got bumped up, and this is going to focus on Aphelios, Bard, and Neeko. But as many 3-stars as you can get is ideal because that's what Bard likes. When you get 3-star units, he shoots out an additional Meep or something like that. And his build is going to be Nashor's Jeweled Gauntlet +1. Aphelios is going to be IE, Kraken, Rageblade. Kind of the same items as Yunara. But for your front line, Neeko is going to be probably your main tank. Sometimes you do Loris. But this comp is really good if you are going for Bard in the early game because you know you're going to lose streak, and then you just get a ton of Bards or just get really good items for both of these units. And obviously a bunch of Aphelioses as well. But you don't have to force this. You could like get Bard first and then play any of the other reroll comps. But obviously if you meet the conditions for this, go for it. If not, go for some of the other ones. So that's kind of what I like about this patch so far. There are a lot of reroll options. You're not forced into one of them. You could also scout around. If someone's going for one thing, then you just go for another. And then for Fast 9, there are also a bunch of different options too. The only thing that's lacking is a level 8 comp, but luckily we have one here in the Yone comp. This one's going to be 5 Ionia with Yone as your main carry, Wukong main tank. And this is just like the only standard TFT comp that they have out there right now, where you're focused on 4 costs and then you cap out with the 5 costs in set. But pretty much here, if you get a Slayer start, I'm not talking about Yasuo. Like obviously Yasuo is good because he's an Ionia unit and he's also a Slayer, but honestly Kiana 2, Briar 2 in stage 2, that's when you're like, oh nice, I can do pretty well with this. You throw some Yone items on them. You can play Ionia if you want. If you get like the gold or econ Ionia, it's really nice to get, just so you have some extra gold to play around with, but that's pretty much all you need to get this comp online and active. You just need some way to get a decent early game, spike at level 8, destroy all the reroll comps that haven't hit 3-star yet, destroy all the level 9 comps that are still greeting for level 9, and then by the time they reach their spike, hopefully you bleed out a little slowly, and it's not like you're not playing legendaries of your own, right? You have Set, Aatrox, and Lucian here, and ideally, since your comp is a bit cheaper, you could push into levels instead later on, and just win through that. But that's going to round out the A tier comps after that. The B tiers are still viable, like getting Shadow Owls activated, you still can play a good game. Obviously, the Kalista and Bel'Veth boards are still viable. There are a lot of viable comps out there right now. It just depends on what you are looking for. Like, if you don't get any of the A or S tiers, like, unfortunately, you're going to have to play a B tier comp. Like, you're going to have to play Yunara sometimes. Like, if you're going Ionia and you get perfect Yunara items, like, yeah, like, you probably have to go for that, right? Especially if you get an early Yunara for some reason. But ideally, you're playing, like, the Yone version of the Ionia build. And ideally, you're either doing full lose streak to play one of the rerolls or full win streak to play one of the level 9 builds. But the in-between is kind of the difficult part right now. I feel like in every patch in TFT, one of the playstyles is a little bit more difficult to play than the others. I mean, that's always going to happen, right? But I feel like there's a stark difference between the worst and the second worst out of the three. But Right now, definitely the level 8 people are going to be struggling. But all you have to do is just kind of have to adapt a little bit, be a little greedier to get to level 9 sometimes, or just recognize when you need to fold early in order to play for some of the reroll comps. I guess I forgot to talk about Bilgewater a little bit. Like, Bilgewater is also a level 8 comp that you could kind of play. It just plays a little differently because you still want to win a bunch. But let me know your thoughts about this patch down in the comments below. We also do have the opener guide on the website and in video form on YouTube. And this covers everything you need to do in like stage 1 and 2 to just set up your entire game. Again, like the opener, it pretty much decides your next 30 minutes of your life. So it is very important to try to optimize that because it probably will influence whether you are happy or not after 30 minutes. So check that out if you have not already. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all in the next video.